What's going on, Packers fans? Aaron Nagler here, joined by Justis Mosqueda, as I am each and every week during the offseason. And you know what, Justis? Sometimes there's just nothing to talk about, but not this week. Thankfully, we have the league annual meetings are wrapping up as we speak here. I believe Mark Murphy is meeting with local reporters, undoubtedly basking in the glow of the completion of his 17-year tenure. But always good to chat with you when the NFL is making some headlines.
Yeah, things are happening, which I enjoy at this point.
I mean, yeah. Are they
Break up
happening
some of
though?
this college scouting tape. So
Yeah, we do have a ways to go until the NFL draft. They're in Green Bay in 3 weeks or so, but the league rumbles on. And one of the things that came out of the proceedings here over the last couple of days are a few tweaks to a few different rules. Of course, the headline coming out of the last 2 days has been and probably will continue now to be for the next few months the Tush Push, as the Packers' proposal was tabled until the next league meetings in Minnesota in May. So we get another, month plus of conversation around this play. I mean, we've talked about it a little bit here in the offseason already. We'll kind of, I don't want to go too deep into it because everyone's talked about it so much already. But to me, I'm of the, opinion, if it just gets adjudicated correctly, a lot of this goes away. I think if we start talking about the actual neutral zone being called as it should be, I think things will look a lot different in that, the whole regard of the play. But ultimately, I'm also of the opinion that the Eagles have perfected it, figure out a way to stop it. That's where I'm at.
yeah, I kind of understand like everyone's
Yeah.
point in all this. Like I get when people are like, we want to be proactive about injuries and stuff. I do think that if we're just at the point where we're scaling things and we're like, okay, we're just going to remove the least impactful plays, like, what are we going to do with inside run? That's not like
At some
everyone's
point,
running
right? Don't
duo
you have to
and
look at it?
yeah. So like, I
This
don't
is what
know.
I was tweeting about this morning. This is exactly.
Yeah. So
Yes.
like, I understand like the slippery slope fallacy is a fallacy. But I think those are real conversations you have to have at some point. I think the tush push stuff, I don't really care at the NFL level.
I'm with you too. Yeah.
I think if the NFL is worried about it creeping down to lower levels, I think that's when you start getting very worried. Having a bunch of high school kids try to do this is probably not the best idea in the world.
Well, I think it's instructive that Rich McKay basically admitted, McKay, who is on the competition committee, said into a microphone this afternoon on NFL Network, we probably regret changing that rule. What was it, 5 years ago, where they like brought back what had been, not allowed in football for decades, as far as aiding the runner by pushing them from behind. And their thought, I guess, at the time was something about things going on downfield, and they didn't really think of the repercussions of a team possibly doing what the Eagles have done. But that never made sense to me, and it was at least, I think, somewhat heartening to hear McKay admit as much, right? To hear someone with the NFL to say, "Yeah, we probably screwed up here," but now
Yeah.
that toothpaste is out of the tube, and I don't know how you get it back in.
I mean, I remember USC Notre Dame, what was it? Probably 2005, the Bush push, right?
Right.
Like that was a big
Good
deal at
pull,
the goal
yeah.
line. So like I remember that being a controversy, and that was a pretty similar type of play.
Yes.
I mean, obviously it's at the college level, it's not at the NFL level and stuff like that. Again, I kind of like understand everyone's point. Like when they talked about like the game flow things, and you see what happened with the Commanders game, in the postseason where you're running the tush push 6 times in a row
And you're trying to
because of the
stop them by
penalties.
jumping the count, and they're changing the count, and which is all, by the way, I get it from both
Yeah,
of their sides.
yeah,
As far as the offense and the defense, I
yeah.
get it.
It's fine until it lasts 6 plays and the referee is like, "Hey,
Right.
we're just going to award him a touchdown if you
Oh
don't
man.
give it to him."
Yeah.
Um, I mean, again, I kind of get everyone's point. The neutral zone thing, how you dictate that, I mean, that's a interesting conversation. I come from a line background, right?
Right.
I don't mess with my splits, man. I wanna be able to line up how I want. Like, I think it's crazy that
Of course you do. Yeah.
I know,
Well, that's the problem. The
I
Eagles want to
know.
line up how they line up. That's not all of the reason, but it's a big reason why
Yeah,
they've been successful.
yeah. I get it, man. When, hey, everyone's lining up on each other's hips on normal plays, right?
Right.
So you get like, you basically get a pocket to start the play
Yeah.
on normal down to down basis. And then tush push, it's just it's just flat across the board. It's a little bit different. Yeah, I mean, do people want to see more pre-snap ticky-tacky penalties? Like, didn't we hate that a couple years ago when that became an emphasis? Like, so I don't know. I don't really care. I think if the NFL's approach was more like, hey, we don't want this trickling down to lower levels, let's get rid of the actual push part.
I would bet decent money that is a talking point by the time they reconvene in May.
Oh, the NFL cares about this stuff. I mean, it's one of the reasons why, we could talk about like the kickoff rules and stuff like that. Like, they don't want to change.
We will. That is one of the things that got changed today. Yeah,
100%. They don't want to change where the kickoff point is, right?
Right.
Because that would trickle down to lower levels. I mean, now you're talking about returners taking the ball at the 20-yard line.
I mean, it couldn't though, because look, they changed to the dynamic kickoff, right? And college didn't change.
I mean, it's going to
happen. High schools didn't change.
Oh, it's going to happen. It's going to happen.
Yeah, I suppose
it's going to happen
someday.
I mean, all of the player gesture stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
All of that.
Yeah, now you can't wipe your nose anymore.
Right.
You see that?
Like all that stuff is because of the high school game. All that stuff is because of youth ball. It's not because of the NFL, and people are clutching their pearls. Just they don't want to incite fights at the high school level. So they're like, okay, what starts fights here? Let's ban that, and then it won't happen at the high school level.
Speaking of the kickoff, that is something that did get kind of changed today as far as the touchback being brought out to the 35. And to your point, it's funny because I know Bill Belichick has been kind of the forefront of the idea of moving the kick back, like moving the spot from where they kick off back, 5, even 10 yards, which I love, but that seems like a non-starter for the league, probably for the reasons you're talking about. But I did find it fascinating that their expectation here now, because their number of returns was, obviously not great, but better than it had been that final year with the normal kickoff. And now their expectation is, initial kind of guesstimates. They're thinking they're going to get upwards of a 15% uptick as far as returns go, which, I mean, wasn't the whole reason they went to the dynamic kickoff for safety issues and safety problems, and they wanted to make it a safer play? So by putting all these people back into harm's way, it just feels like they're kind of taking one step forward, maybe 2 steps back. That's how it feels anyway.
Well, I think they wanted to revive the play.
Yeah, well, watching people kick it into the end zone isn't exciting, Justis. Come on.
Yeah. So I think they wanted to do that. Okay, so I have some experience with this rule. I was with XFL in 2020. Sam Schwartzstein really created what is now the dynamic kickoff. Shout out to him. He works for Amazon Prime doing their TNF stuff.
And a good follow on Twitter. Highly recommended.
Yeah. Unfortunately, you get spammed with a bunch of Stanford stuff every once in a while. But yeah, so we created it. We actually had it moved back, I think 10 yards or 5 yards from where the NFL has it right now. I watched a UFL game this past offseason. By the way, Manny Wilkins went crazy.
Packer legend.
Manny
Wilkins.
He's
got some wheels, man. He can move the ball, definitely.
I think he scored 2 rushing touchdowns.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, so I was watching some UFL. They actually made it so that the touchback comes out at the 45 now, which to me is insane.
That's absolutely insane.
I mean, it's the same as a kick out of bounds. That's nuts. I will say, like, moving the kickoff back, athletes get better over time, man. How far can you move that thing back over time?
Kicking it from the 10.
Yeah, the 3-point line used to mean something in the NBA, and it doesn't mean like we got
Doesn't mean
centers that can
much,
shoot
yeah.
that now. So
Yeah.
like as soon as we move the kickoff back, we're going to be loaded in with a bunch of kickers who are going to be able to just nail this thing and still go into the end zone. So
Sure.
I'm not sure if that is necessarily the answer. Definitely going to help out the kickoff return rates. The
Right.
NFL doesn't want to get rid of the kickoff. Kickoff is synonymous in American culture. Everyone loves, the bulb flash, start to like the Super Bowl and things like
Right.
that. How else do you start to get like you just walk onto the 20 and take a snap? Like there's a lot of conversations about and opinions and things like that. And I think everyone just wants to keep it. They want to make it a watchable play, so you aren't, leaving to grab a beer when a drive starts and stuff like that. It's definitely less impact than the normal, what we're used to, like the college kickoff, I
The
guess is what
classic
we're calling
kickoff.
it now.
Right.
But yeah, I mean the touchbacks were a problem last year. Teams kind of figured out like, oh yeah, we'll just not give them an opportunity to return the ball, and it's basically the same. I mean, it was the issue that I had with the rule when they passed it, and I think the Packers were one of 3 teams that voted no against the
I
proposal
think
last time around.
it was 1 or 2 even. I don't
It
even
was
know if it
them,
was
the
3.
Bengals, and I think
I know
someone
it's
else.
them and the Bengals. Those are the 2 I
Yeah.
know. Right.
And
I
Rich was
remember
basically
LaFleur talking about it, and Rich Bisaccia talked about
yeah.
it at camp. Yeah, 100%.
The way Rich talked about it, he was like, "I wanted a 1-year trial in the preseason so that we
Which
could figure out
makes sense, right?
I mean, yeah,
That's what they've done in the past.
yes, because it was pretty obvious to me. Like I talked to, you can be shocked. I actually know some special teams people in the league.
I am absolutely shocked.
I was a special teams coordinator at the high school level during the pandemic year 2021. So I actually had to. I didn't know jack crap really about special. I was a long snapper in high school, so I didn't know. I mean, I get the ball there, I run downfield. That's what I knew. Played kickoff, you run after the ball. Like, but to actually design stuff, I was also unemployed because I got let off by the XFL. I talked to a lot of special teams people over that year just to, cover my ass a little bit, both at the college level and some of the NFL people that I knew. And the response immediately, like by the time training camp really started, everyone was like, "Yeah, we're just gonna still kicking in the end zone.
Yeah.
Like, why are we gonna let these guys return it? Like, those guys are dynamic guys. It basically becomes a rest rep for their special teams units. And hey, okay, we don't have to care about kickoffs anymore or kickoff return. That works for us. We can focus more on punt and all that stuff. So I think this is gonna I would think that the return rate would be at least 50% at this point. So
I mean, we'll see.
We're gonna get more.
We will get more of them.
If not, I mean, you're starting at 35.
That will be interesting if it doesn't, right? If they still just kick it into the end zone, like at a high rate, next offseason will be.
I do think that we're gonna get wonky kicks whenever like the meta shifts and it does become, hey, we're gonna have to kick them the ball. We're not just going to be able to kick it out of the end zone.
Exactly. But I also think some of it is down to what you think about their return unit. Because look,
100%.
Look no further than the playoff game in Philadelphia. It was very clear the Eagles were like, we don't think you can do jack shit on returns. Because they kept purposely kicking it short of the end zone and making the Packers take it out. Nixon famously fumbling on that first play. They wanted the ball in Nixon's hands. They wanted them to return it.
Yeah, and it varies still a lot team by team. Like I know the Saints last year, at least early on in the season when I was tracking this stuff, like Rizzy was like, "Doc, we're putting this thing in play. Like I don't care like who we're going against." But yeah, I mean, you still have 2 returners back there. Just because Keyshawn is back there doesn't mean they have to kick it to Keyshawn. They can kick it to the other guy. I do think that we're going to get a lot of wonky kicks, right? So like hang time doesn't exist anymore, right? Because everyone goes on when the returner touches the ball.
Yep.
But there is this wonky rule where if the ball touches the ground, you can start going.
You can go,
right?
right?
So the new hang time is gonna be from when the ball hits the ground to when the returner actually covers it. So the weirder the ball you can get to hit the ground, that is still within,
More English you can put on it.
landing zone, the landing zone, and doesn't
Right.
go out of bounds, the better. So I think we're gonna get a lot of weird kicks. I mean, do you remember the start of training camp? They had to start and force it. Like the NFL made basically like a quick patch,
Yeah.
right? And
Yep.
they were like, "Hey, the ball's got to be on the tee like this." Because I
Mhm.
said, you guys are doing weird shit, and we don't
Well,
want the weird shit.
and when they had like, remember the Chiefs had like, was it a safety like
Mhm.
doing the kicks? So they had
Yeah,
an extra guy in
Reed.
coverage, etc. Reed, right? And yeah, there was a very quick kind of shift there that first week of camp where the
Because
word came down like,
I
look, you
think
got to do it a
Reed
certain
was
way.
putting the ball down
Yeah.
without a tee on
Yep.
its side, and they were just basically like, the ball's moving like a helicopter propeller,
Right.
right?
Yep.
They're like, we don't want that, but there's still ways that you can kick the ball in an odd way off of a tee.
Oh yeah.
And they're not going to be able to enforce how you strike the ball with your
No.
foot. That's not something
Oh
that the
well, I don't
NFL is
know.
going
It
to
is
do.
the NFL, so anything's possible, I guess. But that's probably hopefully for next year. I was sad a little bit because there were rumblings, and I think there was some language in the actual proposal about kind of trying to resuscitate, maybe not surprise onsides, but onsides in general. Like other than that last, fourth quarter, you got to declare, etc. I know there had been some discussion about being able to declare throughout the game, but I think if I read it right, that was eliminated.
Yeah, you still got to declare, because I mean the setup is just so different.
Yeah.
Yeah, surprise onside, like, it brings out strong emotions. To
I love a
me,
surprise onside, man. Come on now.
so it's really interesting, right? So like if you look at the original kickoff, um, the second and fourth quarters, the cover, or the fourth quarter really, um, the cover rate is still about 9%, which is what it is about right now. The reason that the onside was at like 20% recover rate was because of all the surprise onsides.
Mm,
Um, so this is all to say, like, I don't think like the normal onside isn't hurt in any way in
right.
obvious situations. The surprise onside is still a bad bet when you look at it from like an EPA perspective. But yeah, we have just deleted that. Um, I kind of think people would be cool with the first and or fourth and 15
Yeah.
pass
The
attempt.
attempt to try and convert a fourth down, a fourth and long
Yeah,
to
but
retain possession.
at the same time, I do understand the worries of teams where you're like, my starting quarterback's Justin Fields and your starting quarterback is Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
Like, why do
Seems a
I want
little
to take that
imbalanced.
bet?
Right. Yeah. I will say though, the most glorious part of this past season and the striking change to the kickoffs and the elimination of not just the surprise onside, but the ability to onside kick at all. You have to declare in the fourth quarter. And you got to be losing. So glorious for all those cheesy bastards online who play Madden and would just like perfect the art of recovering onside kicks. So they would just go score, and then they go, and they would just kick onside, and they get the ball back automatically, and then they go. It's like, man, just knowing that there are some losers out there who can't do that anymore. Beautiful, absolutely gorgeous. I can feel their frustration.
Ball's back. Yep.
That ball is back. Another area that was kind of adjudicated today, or I guess maybe not truly, but another thing that was talked about, uh, the replay assist, the expanded replay assist was approved as far as, and I love this, Justice, if the flag is thrown, but only if the flag is thrown. In certain instances and types of infractions, replay assist can come in quickly and correct a mistake, right? But of course, as we talked about before the league meetings, this does nothing to kind of help in those instances where quarterbacks are hit in the head and a flag doesn't get called or doesn't get thrown, right? So it's not like it's what should be an easy win, the NFL has done a little bit here, but as usual, it feels like half measures.
Yeah, I like the Sky Judge. Again, I'm biased. We had Sky Judge for XFL. I think it helps game flow a lot.
Couldn't agree more.
Especially if you have a good one, then decisions are happening quickly. That's not to take away from what the refs do on the field. I do think that there are certain angles that they have to be the ones that call it. But the Sky Judge, I do think really helps. The angle from up there, man, like, I don't know if you guys have been on a sideline for a football game. There's not that much stuff that you can see. Like, you can see your half,
Right.
but the other half,
impossible.
I'm talking like if I'm looking this way, right? That sideline
Right.
way over there, I
Right.
can barely get a look at it.
Yeah.
There's reasons why coordinators, defense, offense are in the booth. Again, I was just watching that UFL game. Wade Phillips is the head coach of a team, and he's in the booth right now because of the angles that he can see from up there. Yeah, I mean, that's just kind of how the sport is laid out. Like, you don't get all the best angles all the time from the sideline and stuff. So I understand why you would go with the Sky Judge. How you do all this stuff where people don't want to watch a game where 22 players every single play and their techniques are being reviewed and the game is slowing down like crazy, and you
that is usually
want to get ticky-tacky.
See, but I don't think hitting the quarterback in the head is ticky-tacky. But
No.
I understand what you're saying. Like, as far as like every single play, having every single player and interaction watched and adjudicated live by, the eye in the sky or sky, whatever, 345 Park, that I get. But it is frustrating when it feels like they're doing more to protect the officials than they are the actual players on the field. As far as just,
always.
Yeah, you're right.
I mean, buddy, like, Pro Football Focus has the ability to grade officials. They don't, because the NFL doesn't want that out, right? The NFL does internal stuff. I don't know how many times the NFL has actually like gone after an official afterwards.
I cannot remember a single time in my
life. They don't do it. Like, the NFL doesn't want to be looked at as a league that could potentially ever have bias in the referees, which are not even bias, just like imperfect competency, I guess is the best way to put it.
Right.
Which is silly. I mean, people are going to get things wrong.
Human nature, no doubt.
But the NFL does not want that. I mean, if the NFL did want every single player scrutinized in a live game, all that, like, they have the money to do it.
Yeah, they do.
They're not
they have
doing
the wherewithal. Another thing that got tabled today, or was it tabled? I think it was. They're going to bring it back up. Yeah, they're going to bring it back up in May. Playoff reseeding per the Detroit Lions. Talking about, win your division, but you better have a better record than some other wildcard team or you're not going to get a home game. I got to admit, Justis, I have never cared a whit about most of this conversation. And I know it gets brought up every year, some years more than others, because every once in a while, there is a team that has a terrible record and wins a bad division, and then everyone grumbles about it. But man, I am such a traditionalist and or old school guy here. I guess I'm just at that point where I'm an old dog. I ain't ready to learn new tricks. I am totally fine with you win your division. Place your importance as a roster constructor, as a head coach, whatever you want to say, as an organization, put that emphasis on winning your division so you can have a home playoff game. That's where I live.
I'm kind of the opposite.
Because you're younger. See, this is my point. You're youth, full of youth and vigor and fresh ideas. I'm an old curmudgeon.
I got some gray hairs. You can see them somewhere here. I don't know. I think some of it's like I come from like the college world too. Like, I really enjoy college football, and I'm like, cool, you won the Mountain West. Who cares?
Who cares?
Yeah, like
it's kind of like the AFC South, isn't it? Come on, same thing.
NFC South a lot of years too. Yeah,
I mean, AFC South. Who cares?
Yeah, so I don't know. People are like, there has to be an emphasis on winning the division. It has to mean something, and I'm like, I don't know. Does it? Does it?
It probably doesn't now, especially since, there's so much kind of water on the bridge from the old school, like NFC Central times, like when I was growing up, young man. But I don't know. I still think, you have those 4 teams grouped together, win those games, man. And plus that makes those games more important. I understand,
Oh, it does
again,
for
it
sure.
happens every once in a while, but it's not like this is an every year occurrence where we've got some 9 or 8 win team, or hell, even a 7-win team going into the playoffs. It's like, yeah, it happens every once in a while, but it's not this urgent thing that I think they need to address.
No, I mean the NFC North this past year. I mean, how many times have we had to hear that it was historical, right?
Right.
It hadn't happened before.
And then they
I
all
will
went
say,
one and done in the playoffs.
like, I think if the rule changed, it would make the end of the season more interesting.
Possibly. Yeah.
Just in terms of like,
More
there's
teams
more
competing
at
with each
stake.
other for seeds. Yeah, yeah. I feel that.
Exactly.
I feel
So,
that.
personally,
And hey, with 18 games coming, might need that
oh yeah,
rather
for
than
sure.
having guys sit for 2 weeks rather than 1
Right.
week as you're sitting your starters because you've already wrapped it up.
I will say, dude, I'm almost willing to take it a step further. And I'm
Oh
like,
boy,
if
here we
you're
go.
8-9 and there's a wild card team that's out and they've won 10 games,
Here we
but
go.
you just happen to win a division.
You should
Again,
not get in the
why does the
playoffs, right?
division matter? Like it's a scheduling formality. That's how I view it. I mean, I understand you want to beat the Vikings and you want to beat the Bears and you want to beat the Lions, but it's not because they're. I mean, I guess
Why
it
do
is
you need to
because they're in
convert on
division.
3rd down?
Yeah,
Because you got to get the first down. Is a first down just a formality? You know what I mean? There are
guess.
rules, Justis.
I don't. It's just my opinion. I'm
I
like,
know. I
just
hear
give
you.
the best
No, and
teams
you're
in.
right.
Who
I
cares?
get it, man. I get it. I totally get it. I just, like I said, I'm old curmudgeon and I'm set in my ways. But I totally hear you. And I do think we'll get there eventually. Like I am almost certain that at some point in my lifetime, we will see a moment where the NFL shifts to maybe not exactly what you're talking about, but close to what you're talking about.
I mean, doesn't the NBA do? I'm not. I'm a
You're
fan of the
asking the
Blazers, so
wrong
like
guy on the NBA,
we're
man.
dead. But I'm pretty sure the NBA does this, where it's basically just standings within your
And
conference.
and I think, with like I was talking about the advent soon to come 18 game schedule, they're going to opt out of these media rights deals in 2029, and they're going to re-sign for a bunch of billions of dollars. You've got Netflix now with 3 games on Christmas, Amazon, or 2 on Christmas and 1 on
That's the
Amazon on
big
Christmas.
one. I mean, Amazon, they passed the 21-day flex rule
That was
and
another
all
one.
that stuff.
Yes,
I mean,
but
hint, guys. Who
my
are
point.
they moving
Right.
boulders
Where do you
around?
think it's all headed? But to my point, the point I'm making here is that because of all that, right? There's big money at stake and there's driving interest, but you can't have these games in week 17 and soon to be week 18 that are just hard to watch, don't mean anything. Think back to week 17s of the last couple of years, right? Where a few teams have got it totally locked up. Some teams go for it, but some teams sit their starters. I mean, look at the Chiefs this year. They got blown out week 17. Still made it to the Super Bowl. It didn't matter at all. As opposed to like the Lions, who couldn't materially affect anything that game against the 49ers, yet they went all out, beat the 49ers. It's like some of that is great, but by generating the interest of, okay, they've got that division wrapped up, but they might not make the playoffs, that drives that interest. And
I
that
mean,
money,
think
that amount of attention makes sense.
week 18, 2022, Lions, Packers, Sunday Night Football. Lions don't have a chance at the playoffs, and it's
Right.
basically just an elimination game for the Packers.
Spoiler
And
time.
that's the big game. The big game is neither of these teams ended up making the playoffs.
It's scary. It's just scary. One last thing I wanted to touch on is something that's probably not going to get talked a lot about, but I found it kind of funny and somewhat interesting, is the ability for teams to actually contact and talk to the players in question in free agency during the legal tampering period. Up until now, that 48-hour window, the teams were only allowed to speak to the agents, right? Kind of nice to be able to actually talk to the dude who you're going to be handing millions and millions of dollars to. I think this is such a no-brainer. It's kind of funny to me that it wasn't already the rule.
Yeah, and this is what the Falcons got fined for with the Kirk Cousins thing, if you guys
Right.
remember that last offseason.
Yep.
Yeah, I don't see an issue with it at all. I mean, the guy's functionally a free agent. You're letting his agency talk to other teams. I mean, I guess teams willing to retain players in that specific season, if like they would want
Get it
to
wrapped up
have
before
that.
48 hours before the free agent period opens.
Yeah, you had all this time.
Exactly. I
What
mean,
are
I
you
do
bitching
think
about?
that was the original concern and or protestation, though, right? Is that, hey, we could, I mean, deadline spur action, right? As we've heard throughout the years. And look, we're gonna take this down to the wire, and then we're gonna call him on, Monday before the opening of the bell, so to speak. It's like, man, I get it from that standpoint, but on the flip side, it makes zero sense to me that you're going to have these conversations and these deals get done in that 48-hour period, and the team never once talks to the player. I mean, I'm sure they have, as we've seen with Cousins and probably a few others, but yeah, it seems silly. That seemed very silly.
It also hurts players who are self-represented. Like I remember, who was it? Like Richard Sherman,
Right? Trying
Bobby
to remember.
Wagner, I think was
Wagner
another
was
one,
one. Yep.
where it was like they basically get to market 48 hours after everyone else gets to market because
Yep.
they are
Because
they aren't allowed to talk to people. So I think that helps.
Lamar was like that too, wasn't he?
He never hit free agency though,
But he.
right?
Oh no, you're right. He was on the tag, and
Mhm.
and teams could have, but didn't
Yeah.
tender him. But that's right. That's right. But yeah, it always seemed like a silly rule, and I'm glad they've kind of rectified that. Anything else you want to get off your chest before we head out here?
No, you want to hear something interesting? So
Yes,
we've
sir.
been running
Always.
like community mock drafts, right? So we
Oh
go in one
boy,
of these
here we
simulators.
go.
We throw one up on APC,
Right.
Acme Packing Company. Aaron, the same guy's been picked. 3 different mock draft simulations by the commenters at APC in the first round. It's Derek Harmon out of Oregon.
At pick 23?
Pick 23. Derek Harmon. We found our Cooper DeJean.
So we know 100% for certain the Packers will not be picking Derek Harmon. That's good to know. I'm glad we've got that locked in, a couple weeks in advance. And we also know they won't be picking Shamar Stewart because he is on the cover of the Cheesehead TV Draft Guide, which drops tomorrow.
Is he?
On April 2nd. Nice. So there you go. So we can eliminate those 2 possibilities.
Nailed it.
Justis, always appreciate it, man. Make sure you're checking out Justis's work at Acme Packing Company. There's a link in the description of this video for you to do so. Justis, thanks so much, man.
Anytime.